Hey everybody, it's Mike Sherwood and welcome to my YouTube channel, Don't Waste Your Life, where we remind you to be present, to be happy, and to be thankful. If you're new to the channel, I ask that you subscribe below, and if you are returning, thanks for coming back. So this is going to be the second video that I mentioned about talking about my goals and accountability and my review process. So this is part of the Wheel of Life I did as one of my first videos way back when I first started on YouTube. So I'm planning to, share some of my goals and just go through where we're at. So looking forward to sharing with you guys. So one thing I want to share with everybody about goals, and this is something that I just recently heard from my friend Justin, who has a Substack as well. He sends out a newsletter. And one of the things that he said is that he reminded me that it's not about the intensity. It's about the consistency of the habit that you're doing. Consistency is everything. And so one thing I learned from Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, is that we're made up of our behaviors, our choices, and our habits. So those are all very important. And in many cases, I feel like the habits are the most important things that drive you, because that's what the consistency is. What drives the consistency is those habits. So when I first published my video on the Wheel of Life, I talked about accountability in my review process. So I'm going to give you a little glimpse into how I've been progressing on my goals. I'm hoping that this will be helpful for you guys as well. So as some of you remember, I had 6 areas that I was focusing on. One of them was financial. The second one was mental, physical, spiritual, business, and lifestyle. So those are the areas that I was focusing on developing. So first we'll start with lifestyle. So the first one was being mindful of work-life balance. So in my new role, I would say overall, I've been doing a pretty good job with this. I think if you ask my wife, she may disagree, but I would say it's been better. I think there are some key things that I can do to continue to make progress on this goal. I would say number one is just not answering emails in the evening or answering texts, being mindful of the time boundness and putting up boundaries. I just think revisiting that would be helpful. And I think the other thing would just not be responding to emails or not sending out emails, giving people the perception I'm available, or just not being on chat at those times. It'd be helpful to do that. I think just reiterating that would be super helpful. I would say the second thing is around relationship building. I think with my family and with work, I tend to be pretty good with this. And when I say family, it's more about my immediate family. So my wife, Evan, and now Caleb. Those people I feel like I do a good job with. I would say my probably close friends are lifelong friends. I could probably do a better job with. Some of my other closer friends or acquaintances around this area I could do a better job with. I would say COVID has limited some of that, so it's made it more challenging. But I think being more intentional about it. And I think last time I told you I've scheduled things. And while I was doing really well with that, it fell off a little bit. So I think I need to reiterate and catch up on that a little bit. And I think also reaching out to my overall family would be something I should do a little bit more of. So the third thing is just being more present in the day-to-day moments. I would say a lot of times I'm running around from thing to thing. And I would say it's even more so now with Caleb being on the way. Just there's a lot. So I think just reminding myself to be more present is very important. And I would say, how I would do more of that is just slowing down and being intentional with my time and maybe meditating or just sitting still. I think would be helpful. I would say the final thing here would be around planning my day and my energy better. I actually think I'm doing a pretty good job of this on the business side and a little bit on the personal side, but on the business side, like my job, I feel like I do a good job of this about how I organize my day in order to maximize the energy level that I have available to do what needs to be done. I think on my company side and on some of my personal side, I could do a little bit better with this, to be honest. I think one overall area of improvement, what I will actually do is like when I post this on Substack, I will bold the changes or additions compared to what I did last time. So one area I need to do a better job about is sleep, getting to sleep or sleep routine, because my sleep is all over the place now. And I just can't have that, because eventually when Caleb comes, I'm going to need all the sleep I can get. And so I think being able to adjust for that is something that's very important in my lifestyle goals. So in the financial area, I saw a lot of great progress. So I sold some of my stock to rebalance my portfolio because it was getting a little overwhelmed. That was at the bequest of my financial advisors. That really helped, and especially when the stock now dropped down like under 300, it's been great. That was a great call, because if I didn't, I would have lost a lot of money, and my portfolio was just not balanced. So I think having the financial advisor has been really helpful. We've also set up goals and savings for the kids for college. So there's a plan for that. I would say one area where we kind of got off the rails a little bit is around the partnership stuff, and just having a plan in place to make sure if something happens that we know what needs to be done. And so what I'm actually doing is, because I haven't been able to find anybody to actually write that, I'm planning on, and this is one of the changes I'm planning on doing is, I'm going to write something up, get Charlie and I to sign it. It's more to like protect both of us in case something happens. I'd rather have it formally written down somewhere, even if we haven't had an attorney go through it and give us their feedback or even tell us like how we should do it. I think Charlie and I have a good idea what it should look like. So I think we should put that in place just to protect us both and protect our families, of course. So if something happens to Charlie, we know what to do. I already kind of know what to do, and obviously I'd honor that, but at the same time, it just makes it much more clear. So then, other people will also know this as well. So I think that'd be helpful. Oh, and one other thing before I forget is password manager. I have a password manager in place. I just need to show Amanda how to use it, how to get her up to speed on that. I think that's something that everybody should have. You should have, I use LastPass, and you can get a free version. I recommend the paid version. You can share it with people. Highly, highly, highly recommend it, because if if something happens to you, your loved ones will know how to get into all the accounts. Without that, they don't have a way to do that. I know some people use spreadsheets. I find LastPass works. And of course, this video is not sponsored by LastPass, but I love LastPass. I've been using it for years, and it's a great software. There are other softwares that are out there very similar, but this one just works very well for me. So on the mental side, I feel like overall I've been doing pretty well with that. So one area, I've been working on is just trying to organize my thoughts, or even like organizing my podcast or YouTube videos. I feel like building a process or building a system for that has been really helpful. It definitely has helped me be, I don't want to say more professional, but just get consistency in results. It just makes it a little bit easier to organize. And this is still developing. So this is something that's going to continue to evolve. It's an iterative process. And so it's been a lot of fun. So I think one area where I'm going to improve upon here is some of my videos tend to be a little long. So I'm planning on breaking them up a little bit more to potentially allow them to be multiple videos. I think that may be helpful because I cover a lot of topics. So the organizing my second brain has actually been on hold. And one of the reasons why is just I haven't had time to sit down and organize it. I've been capturing a lot of stuff, but I got to go through it and reorganize it. So I have a good capture process to capture quotes, to capture different things, but I think getting a system to organize it, I just think this could be something I could do in the future, but just right now it's not as high of a priority, especially with kid coming on the way. It's been less a priority for me, but it's still cool. Listening to podcasts and YouTube and other stuff like that, it's definitely gone down quite a bit. I was probably doing about 30 hours a month up until probably January. And I think now we're down around like 10 or 15. But I'm going to be honest, also YouTube and doing stuff like this has taken up some of that time. So, but am I upset with the amount of hours I'm doing? No. I actually find that I can pay more attention to those 10 hours than I could the 30 hours. So I think it's allowed me to be more focused and intentional about what I'm learning. So it's actually been a very good thing. I think the other thing is turning negative into positive. And this is something I've always struggled with. I tend to be not pessimistic, but a realist. And so sometimes it can come across as just being a negative person. And so sometimes even my wife will remind me, hey, you never look like you're happy. You never look like this. And like, she's right. In many cases, I'm not happy. But I think, nobody really wants to be around or work with somebody that's negative. They want to be around positivity. And so I think Bob Iger was the one that actually said that. Nobody wants a negative or pessimistic boss. They want somebody that has a positive attitude or is, looking to try to be positive. So I think it's important. So what I'm saying with this, need to do better, Mike. Need to do better. I definitely will build more intentional habits around this, and that'll be some of the future videos, because I think when I talk about all this stuff, it's very helpful to talk about the progress and holding myself accountable. But it's like, okay, well, now you're holding yourself accountable. What are you going to actually do? What are you going to change with this? So I will definitely talk about that. So this is adding to this mental area. Is one area where I feel like I struggle with is just finishing, being intentional and finishing stuff. I tend to get distracted. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, in the social media world, I'm not surprised people are getting distracted, myself included. So this definitely impacts me professionally and personally. And so I think I just, need to be more intentional and schedule time out and block the time and make sure it's protected. So I think this is something I'm definitely going to do a future video on, because a lot of people are like, hey, you did a productivity video. It was very helpful, but I'm really having a hard time just getting stuff done, just like, putting my nose to the grindstone and working. So I'm hoping I can help with that. So on the physical side, overall, I feel like I'm doing well there. 2 to 3 times a week, I'm doing badminton or training or league play. That's good. Cross training, I could definitely do a little bit more. I would say I'm probably doing 1 day a week. Maybe it would be better if I was doing 2. Doing ab or core work and doing some leg work would be very helpful. So, but overall, it's good. Unfortunately, my diet went a little off track, gained a little bit of weight, but I've been happier about it because I haven't been as strict. But I think also when I'm on my diet and I'm dialed in and I'm eating consistent, eating right, I feel so much better. So I think just getting back on that train and following suit on that and just not getting distracted. Because I think then that can actually build bad habits in itself, that I will break those habits. And I've been very regimented about that. One other thing that we've been doing a really good job of is meal planning, especially Amanda. I mean, I've been doing a little bit, but Amanda's been so good with meal planning and making sure every week that we're doing that. And that has helped so much with making sure we have good, healthy snacks, good things to eat, and making sure, obviously, Evan has something to eat and being covered as well. So I think that Amanda has been helping out a lot with, and there's more I could do with that. But I think in many cases, I'm also the one that's cooking. So, I'm the one that has to do it once it's been scheduled. So, and I think the other thing, as I mentioned, I need to get more sleep, just getting to sleep and just doing it and being regimented, maybe reading a book at night, reading myself to sleep. I feel like that's the way to go. So this is a new one I'm going to add, and we'll have a follow-up on it and see how I'm doing. So the last 2 areas I'll try to go through a little quicker, business and then my spiritual life. So I'm actually going to do my spiritual life first. This is one area where I thought I was going to be doing okay with, and I have not really been reading the word that often. And it's not saying I need somebody to hold me accountable, but I think if I'm doing this with somebody else, it's much easier. So if anybody has any recommendations, that would be great. I also think just being part of a small group would be helpful, because obviously my wife and I are still, not going to church in person. I think being part of a small group would just change that. So anybody has suggestions here, definitely could use them. That would probably be the area where I feel like I need the most work. On the business side, I would say I'm not always writing down my daily goals or even my long-term goals. And I think I could do better with that. But I am achieving one of our longer-term goals of getting us into, having our systems all separated, having our books all separated. And that's been super helpful to just track the progress of the company. So it just makes it much easier to see. So I think just revisiting that and just kind of keeping that top of mind, because as I think about my time, I have limited time I can allocate. So of that time I allocate, I need to be very intentional about what I do. And so I think it's almost like scheduling less to do that, but being very intentional about what that is. I think it's been, helpful, and I could do a better job with that. So obviously I'm still involved in a couple outside activities. So obviously with changing groups, changed things a little bit, but I still did a storytelling program using visuals and PowerPoint. I'm planning on doing another cohort of that. I'm planning on doing an Excel cohort to teach people how to use Excel. I'm planning on continuing to help HR with talking about how they do more, mobility within the company, how we advertise that, just helping them, with organizational design. I enjoy that. I actually really find HR to be fascinating, and how to build culture in an ecosystem. It's really quite cool. And if I was not doing what I was doing, I'd probably do something like that. I just think it's very interesting to see that those cultures and what you build, it's a living, breathing organism. It's very cool. And of course, finally, I have this YouTube channel, and I've been enjoying it. It's been very different. I've learned so much. And I think what'll be very interesting to see as I continue to do this, hopefully my videos will get better and I'll learn more. But it's a process, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun. So with that, with another baby on the way, I'm not really planning to add too much to this and tweak too much from this. In fact, some of these, as I mentioned, some of them I'm going to cut back a little bit. One goal I am going to add overall, which is around Chinese, learning Chinese. And so how I'm planning on doing that is I have a Chinese app on my phone. I'm planning to do one class a day. It should take me no longer than 5 to 10 minutes. And again, this, reiterating what Justin reminded me of earlier, is that it's about consistency. So I think for him, it was about the consistency of exercise. So many people, when they exercise, they go super, super, super intense, and then they just burn out. They can't keep it up. It's perfect example is like you're working out 5 days a week. You can't work out 5 days a week for 2 hours a day for a terrible long time, because you'll just burn out. And so the idea is, like, in the beginning, it's okay to build momentum. It's almost like the rocket ship taking off, as I've kind of used that analogy from Covey's book. The idea is that the rocket's taking off in the beginning. It requires lots of effort. We have to taper off, and you'll be able to maintain those gains. And it becomes about consistency. So consistency is everything. So as I reflect back on this, my goal is each week I'm going to continue to still review this and just try to figure out how I can do better and move forward. So with that, I hope this was helpful for you guys, and looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.